Yeah, I'm really glad I came. I think I didn't really know a lot about it before, or kind of places to look for funding, or how funding worked, or how projects worked in that sense. So yeah, I think it's given me kind of a good overall sense of how to apply for those funding and different places to look.
But we're here to talk about funding. So one of the first things I had to work out was what were the costs going to be and where would I get the money from. So I put together one of my, not spreadsheet, some pages, I think, sort of scribble on the back of a beer mat kind of money. That's my approach. And I came up with a figure of £1,000. And I thought, well, that sounds doable, I can do that. I learned that if you can phrase or plan a project within Plymouth that ticks certain boxes for the City Council, they will fund your project by 50%. In order to access that funding, I needed to work with a charity or similar that had a constitution, aims and objectives, you know, the usual kind of legal structure. But there are two ways of doing a crowdfunder. You can either do a long, slow one and hope to build up enough of a momentum over that period to reach your target, or you can do a short and sharp one, which is what I did, because the deadline that I worked to was imminent, so I didn't really have much choice. But there are two ways of achieving the funding. The first is just take what you get, or you go for all or nothing. And in order to access the 50% match funding from Plymouth City Council, I had to go for all or nothing. The money has just arrived. This is an event that took place on the 23rd of September. What is it today, the 17th of October? So that gives you an indication that these things take time to come through. They take their slice, which was £51 something, and then there's VAT, and also people pay online with cards, and the organisation that, or the company that processes that, Stripe, takes the money from you too. So if you've taken into account those costs when setting your initial target, it doesn't matter. Just don't expect to be able to make payments the day after you've met your target. But there were other costs I should have included that I only realised afterwards. I should have paid all of the artists, not just the famous ones, and I didn't pay myself a penny.
The Thomas Crowdfunder, which was originally foreseen to cover £5,000, it also had a stretch target, was part of a rather complex funding architecture. That it was core funding from the Arts Council of £26,500, approximately £18,000 of in-kind value, and the £5,000 from the Crowdfunder. I went for the all or nothing option with Crowdfunder, but secondly it was also all or nothing, because if I wouldn't receive the £5,000 through the Crowdfunder, the Arts Council wouldn't have released the £26,500. So the narrative I basically offered is that the project also already had kind of quite a lot of momentum behind it, even before it hit the Crowdfunder. And yes, the Arts Council had confirmed their support by the time I started the crowdfunder, so I could say firmly, I have this money from the Arts Council, if only that crowdfunder works out, And as you can see, it's quite a substantial project, approximating 50k actually. In fact, I think it went past that. If you do a crowdfunder like that, you do advanced audience building. So everybody that you convince to put money into that crowdfunder will likely tell the tale, and they will turn up at your venue, creating an audience from the outset before you even have delivered work. My rewards were rather generous. They were more like retail transactions actually. Crowdfunder will tell you that it should be a gesture, and it should be something that expresses an idea of support rather than you laboring loads and loads and loads and loads and then starting to flog things. The crowdfunder, to me, it was not a sort of miraculous appearance of money. It was just like with you, really hard work, a lot of constant pushing and doing, and it was necessary and strategic move towards building and releasing the core funding. And with the Arts Council, for example, they're keen to see that an artist doesn't just come to them and open their hand. They're keen to see that an artist have convinced other people as well of the value of their work.
So Exeter City Council has a small arts grant programme. It's up to £1,000. Don't go for the full amount because you're unlikely to get it. A lot of people are going for it. If you go for less, you're more likely to get what you're after. The other pot that might be available to you is project funding. So you might need to work with a constituted organisation to get project funding. You don't necessarily have to. This is between £1,500 and £8,000. There's also a thing called core funding, but you have to be an NPO, a National Portfolio Organisation, to apply for that. Don't worry about it. There are also, within the council, there are ward grants. So there's £300 per ward per application available for people. And it's for particular things. These are for projects that are run by voluntary, community and not-for-profit groups that benefit residents and the environment of Exeter City. There's also a city grant, that's up to £2,000. This is for bigger things that encourage, that work with larger communities of people in the city. Then Devon County Council, so the other authority, there are locality budgets. Each county councillor has £10,000 a year. And then within Exeter specific, there's the Exeter Board Community Grant. So this, there's no kind of mention of how much it is. I think generally they're moving around 50k each time the board sits, something like that. You can sometimes have to go in and run a bit of a gauntlet and present things to the board. Right, this is the obvious national lottery, awards for all, between £300 and £10,000. You're generally not going to be able to apply for this so much if you're just a person. You're going to want to be doing something as part of a bigger picture. You might be in control of that bigger picture. I think that in terms of looking at these kind of pots of money that are for communities, that are sometimes for well-being, that are for people, it's about looking at cultural stakeholders. It's looking at what people actually have access to and what people feel they have access to, and how much you're kind of broadening the cultural landscape for people. You have to think big as opposed to about the thing that you might want to make. What does it mean? Why would somebody want to fund it? The Game Trust is just brilliant. It funds artists. They have a history of funding things that kind of help you out at just the right point in time. So it might be that your printer's broken and you think, actually, you know what, I could do with a slightly better printer. These guys might well just be the ones that will fund it for you. The Elephant Trust. Now these guys, a little bit more money. It used to be £2,000, it's been up to £5,000 because the calibre of artist who applies to them has grown. The Fidelio Trust. So this is kind of moving into the other bit. So this is, if you're just an individual or a group, you're not going to get some money from them. You need to be doing something with purpose. So the reason why I included this is with like an Art Week hat on. An arts festival can be the people that you work on your application with. So the last bit is about funding strategies. So number one on the list is arts organisations. Just get in touch with them, join them. So AN used to be called Artist Newsletter. It used to be a physical magazine. You can have different grades of membership with them, but they also have tons of opportunities, jobs, opportunities, sources of funding constantly. The next is Visual Arts Southwest. Again, it's really good for connecting with other artists, with organisations, with funding sources, that kind of thing. And it's a part of the next bit, the CVAN, the Contemporary Visual Arts Network, which is a national network of regional organisations. Its website has tons and tons of sources of funding, opportunities to do things. So, in terms of strategy, the other side of it would be that you could contact community, third sector and infrastructure organisations to talk about what they might find useful or to pitch ideas for engagement projects. The Devon Communities Forum, the top one, they're generally more kind of organising funding, things like that. They might set you up with another organisation that's looking to do something. VOYC, they have been instrumental in writing the youth strategy for Exeter. They also run the 100 Club out in County Square. And then Exeter Community Initiatives, again, very approachable organisation, massive tentacles, they do loads of things, lots of communities. They manage the new tranche of community builders, who are people placed in all of the different wards of Exeter. I'd wholly recommend getting Bryn on board. They are regionally focused but nationally minded. They are third sector, so they're about charities, not-for-profits. They're always rich. I'm the kind of person that I tend, if there isn't something for me, but there's something that I know somebody else is interested in, I send it to them. And that's the way it kind of works.